My father always said, only tribes survive. So that was also the idea of the team. It was one team he always had for years and years and years.
I remember when Szeemann came to the Whitney, there being just this sort of hurricane of activity as all of the curators sort of snapped to try to be around him. And I'd never seen that before.
The artists really appreciated that strong engagement and interest. They didn't see him as, yeah, sure, I'll get back to you. He wasn't that kind of person. He really invested himself.
He kept a file on every artist he worked with. It contains the correspondence with that artist. Every piece of paper he acquired or collected about that person. And there are thousands of them.
He had a way of putting very difficult ideas and very difficult art together into these incredibly theatrical exhibitions that a huge audience could love.
He was extremely precise. He didn't leave anything to chance.
The intensity of doing was that what impressed him also,
Yes.
The obsession.
Perhaps the most famous curator of the post-World War II era. He was an ardent advocate of modern and contemporary art. He worked in a wide array of media. He worked with well-known artists, and then he worked with artists that he just liked and appreciated, and he put them together in his exhibitions. It was the largest archive or collection we've ever acquired. We know it's going to be a very, very significant international resource.
I've heard about him long before I met him. And when I met him, I was also a little bit shy, and then after he had said that he takes me to document, I was so happy. He always made long, long monologues about his work. It was high philosophy about individual mythologies and so on. He was several times asked to become director in a museum, and he always said no. But it was at a time when we had no money at all. It was really a decision to say no. That was, I think, very important because he had no one to make compromises with. And then he had his ideas. He did everything to fill the concept with meat and muscles. And he offered his concept, and he found museums to do it.
Obviously, working with my father meant a lot of engagement. You really had to work endlessly. But it was fantastic because everybody knew what they had to do. And I think that accelerates also very much and left him the freedom of being more creative.
He really liked owning all of his research himself, so he was rarely just sort of going into libraries and reading things and leaving it there. He would buy the books he needed, he would acquire the things that he needed, and he kept everything that was ever sent to him. So what you have at the most mundane level, it is just an extraordinary selection of exhibition announcements and posters and all of that ephemera that comes out of exhibition making.
The entire archive is like a treasure dome in a way, because you could go through there and always discover something new. Every room had a purpose, and for him it was also important to walk through the rooms because he was convinced that going through all the rooms he got new ideas for his exhibitions.
It was a kind of magical place because it still was inhabited by the spirit of Harald Szeemann.
I was going through magazines and all of a sudden I see a letter of Boltanski written to him. So that he must have thought something, why to put it there.
I opened up this letter and then there was like this explosion of glitter that came just cascading out of the envelope.
I loved finding all these letters in Harald Szeemann's very clear handwriting. The artists didn't seem to only want to write, they wanted to draw pictures and do layouts, and so they're very visual kinds of communication. And then Harry always wrote long replies back.
It was short after his death, and we got the first mail from the Getty. First, it was also Marsha Reed who had contact with us, and Marsha was so friendly and full of enthusiasm, and that gave us the confidence that something has changed. In our imagination about America, the world came together, and the world came together very much in the last years.
Many staff have worked in teams to prepare its shipping and travel, and now many more are going to help us catalog, process it, digitize, publish, exhibit it, and to provide reference and access services and curatorial research.
Szeemann's photographs were housed in these open boxes and hanging folders, so they were exposed to the dust and so forth. So there's the cleaning process and then rehousing them into archival containers.
For the Szeemann books, we noticed that there's a fine layer of dirt and silt across the top foredge of each book. So we're certainly making sure those get cleaned.
From what I hear, there's about 20,000 books. There's definitely a level of closeness there that I get to see when I work on the items. There'll be particular bits of cards or letters inserted into the items, and you really get to see, oh wow, you know, this is a letter from the artist to Harald Szeemann, and you can see how they thought about him, how they saw him as really being a leader.
We love the fact that he was interested in everything, and actually we can accommodate that because we collect in all areas, and we like people to move back and forth and put things together.
I think it does have a lot of potential to really kind of reach new audiences, as well as the art historians and scholars that are typically considered art core.
He's still so out there in the world, and his ideas still hold weight, and we'd really like to think that some aspect of our programming can keep some of his attitudes or some of his ideas alive.
It comes more from the Szeemann family's ideas of how they wanted this archive to stay active and to be used and to go out into the world to carry forward the spirit of Harry Szeemann.
Oh, I can tell you, I'm so happy. You can't imagine how happy I am. Really, how happy I am. I think it's the right place now. The archive found its home. He will say, good done. Well done is the better translation, I think. Well done.
The archive being at the Getty, it's like so fantastic because you know that so many students have the possibility to come here and research and keep the archive alive. And that's what's great. I mean, that's what the archive is for. But in a way that it took such a long time to find an institution that was able to take care of it was maybe a good thing to really to separate from the figure of my father of the archives to give it the process of separation in a way and to let it go.